48 hours before Independence Day. Obviously, it's more like 36 hours away, and we have 2 shows left before the holiday. It is a great week. The weather is spectacular. I don't think it's supposed to be spectacular necessarily on the 4th, but nonetheless, essentially for most people, a 4-day weekend, a lot to celebrate, a lot to be joyous about. And I want to spend a great portion of today's show with a discussion, an open forum discussion, including from listeners, because there are areas, not many, but there are areas where I look at things and I say, I am ready to admit, and this is part of my maturation, I'm ready to admit that I need other people to enlighten me because I may not be as knowledgeable in said area as I could be or should be or as other people are. And I want other people to opine and react to and discuss with me the soliloquy that I will eventually give here about what happened last night. But before we do that, good afternoon to you. My name is Jake Query. Eddie Garrison here as well. And Jimmy
Hello.
Cook is back. He got his electric car running again and is back in studio here on Query & Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Jimmy, first, welcome back.
Happy to be back, guys.
I want you to, as if I'm a third grader, tell me what happened last night in terms of, and by that I don't mean like what happened, well, in the 84th minute, this happened defensively and offensively. I mean, in terms of the United States losing 1-0 to Uruguay last evening, that this tournament is exactly what, and that means exactly what for the United States in this tournament. I know obviously it means finality, but what were the options going into it or the possibilities going into it?
So this tournament is the oldest tournament, it is the oldest tournament in the world, and it is probably the third most competitive tournament internationally speaking in soccer, next to the World Cup and next to the other thing that I've been, driving in everybody's head the last couple of weeks, which is the European Championships, which are going on right now over in Europe. This tournament is exclusive to South American teams with invites to Central America and North America, hence why the U.S. was involved in it, hence why Canada was involved in it, hence why Mexico was involved in it, et cetera, et cetera. The tournament itself was supposed to be a stress test on the U.S. men's national team to get a barometer for where they stand with the World Cup 2 years away. The reason the importance of it, Jake, was amplified was because usually you have to go through a qualification process to make the World Cup, which involves beating relevant teams in order to stamp your ticket to be a part of the once every 4-year prize.
But that has already taken place, correct?
Well, so it's ongoing for teams that aren't host countries.
Okay.
The U.S. this cycle for 2026 is a host country, so they get a free pass. They are indirectly.
Okay, so this illuminates that if there were not caveats based on location, that the U.S. would be in trouble of missing the World Cup.
Well, they would. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is if they were not automatically qualified, then in theory there would be stiffer competition or tougher competition that they could still learn about themselves more between now and 2026. What this tournament was supposed to offer was, in theory, a run to the knockout rounds, which would have been the quarterfinals. Maybe you wind up facing Argentina at some point along the way, or Brazil again, or teams that are the very best that this side of the globe has to offer. Instead, the only taste of the apple you get is Uruguay, who admittedly is a very good club. They're one of the most decorated, if not the most decorated club in Copa America. We saw what happened last night. Now that that's off the table, now that they bow out, it would be like, Jake, for example, why it's so rough that the U.S. bowed out and did not make it into the knockout rounds. It would be like if the Colts were in a division, and maybe they are to some extent. Let's say the Jaguars are bad again, just for the sake of argument, to make this NFL rational. The Colts, in order to make the playoffs in this new NFL system, have to finish top 2 in their division. Well, you know that the Texans are there, and man, they're tough. Houston's good. They got C.J. Stroud, and maybe the Colts can't finish first, but hey, they get second because Will Levis is out there. And let's say that It's just a bad Jaguars quarterback of yesteryear. I'm going to throw stones at Blake Bortles. I know that he had an up-and-down career. He makes it to an AFC Championship game. Maybe that's a bad example, but you get my point. This is not a good Jaguars team. And in the Colts, they take care of business against the Titans, because of course they do. It's Will Levis. Yeah, they're going to take care of it. That is Bolivia, what the U.S. did to Bolivia a couple of nights ago. But then they go up against Jacksonville, in this case Panama, and they're making mistakes. And you can't simulate a red card in football. I get that, but like they're playing poorly, and now they've lost to Jacksonville. And now all of a sudden, to be top 2, you need to go beat a Texans team that you probably shouldn't have had to beat to get where you wanted to go. But now you're putting yourself in that situation.
Okay,
correct.
So here is my thing, and allow me a minute here, Jimmy, and then I'll let you kind of feed off of or react to what I'm saying from 2 different standpoints, okay? It's interesting because at my age, when I was a kid, I was around and I was a kid when Pele came to the New York Cosmos. Pele was the biggest soccer player in the world, probably still is, the most famous soccer player of all time. And I started hearing when I was at the age of starting into youth sports, like, this is it. I mean, soccer has arrived, and this is the most popular sport in the world, and it is now on the cusp. Okay? And I did play soccer as a kid. I didn't overly enjoy it, but I played it for a year at the YMCA, right? And with each passing thing that has happened, Pele with the New York Cosmos, moving into the United States when I was a younger person, some 15 years after that, the United States hosting the World Cup, and then, et cetera, the forming of the MLS. With all of these different phases, we have been told, when I say we, I mean people of my age range, have been told, this is it. This is the thing that cements now that soccer has arrived. No. This is the thing that cements that soccer has arrived. Actually, this right here, just wait, this cements that soccer has arrived. And I think that with people that are diehard fans of soccer, and I understand and appreciate it, but they are so eager for that to be true that they are hypersensitive and defensive of any critique of it until the U.S. men's national team falls short, and then nobody piles on their team faster. I mean, I'm a very transcendent, peripheral observer of all of this, and I see all these people that, like, they say all the neat things, it's a club and the other team, the other side, and things are level now and whatever else, and out on the pitch, and it's like their own esoteric club. You're not qualified to discuss this because you're not in the inner soccer fandom like I am. So step off, non-fanboy. Until the United States team loses, and then it's like, this team sucks, fire the coach, burn it all, torch it all, I'm sick and tired of all of it, I'm burning my jersey. And you're like, wait a minute. If anybody else opines that, well, that's okay, I can say that because I'm a fan. It's the most hypersensitive group. And my point is simply this. It's not that myself or other people want to see it not work. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that there is an increased cynicism because I've heard this song and dance for 40 years. Every time, there's always a reason. Well, no. What you don't understand because you don't follow soccer is they were supposed to beat this second world country, but they didn't because the coach screwed up and he picked the wrong players. No, you don't understand. They were supposed to beat this group, but they went the wrong avenue. There's always like some explanation. So let me backtrack to begin with this. In no way, shape, or form would I ever be ignorant enough to debate the point that soccer is increased in popularity and interest level in the United States exponentially decade by decade. Unquestionably. When in the 70s or the 80s, when you had Wide World of Sports, that was basically the only time that you even saw soccer unless you were entrenched in it as a passerby transcendent fan. And the big 3 sports were, in no particular order, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. That was the big three. And then the NHL to an extent, a small extent. Youth sports in this country, youth soccer in this country, has absolutely grown the popularity of the sport. And I'm going to say some things here that admittedly I have gone over before, but I'm going to repeat it just to give basis of